Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and welcome to my tutorial on installing the data files and the databases from the Murach MySQL second edition book on macOS. Okay, so I just completed recording a tutorial on installing the MySQL software and which includes community server and MySQL Workbench. So if you haven't done that, then find that tutorial and give that a run. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to download the files that we need to build the databases used in the course, and then we're going to do the building. Um, in my course, um, I have taken all the files that we need and I have combined them in one spot, okay, just to make it easy. And I'm trying to find that spot right now. Okay, so here I did it on another monitor and now I'm bringing it over to the one that we are recording on. So the activity is this load Murach 2e second edition files. And I've got a link for the Murach 2e files. And I click on that and it downloads into the downloads folder. And let's go take a look at that. And we've got Murach 2e files.zip. And that's the files we want. Okay, so let's double click that and um, have it do the expanding. Okay, and what we have here is we have a directory called MySQL, and has a lot of things in it. Most of this I downloaded from the companion site for the book. Okay. So for instance, some of the interesting things that we have in the directory called book scripts, we have a subdirectory for every chapter. So let's go to chapter 1. And then within there, these are the examples within the chapter, and they're typically scripts. So you can actually open and run these. Okay, so whenever you see something in the book or as part of a lecture that you would like to run yourself without having to type in the whole script, you should be able to do this for any example that was covered in any of the chapters that we're going to cover from the Murach book. Okay, that's what book scripts are. What about DB setup? Well, we're going to be there soon. That's how we set up the database. Okay, so there's a script here that sets up the databases that come with the textbook. There are three. There's one called AP, one called EX, one called OM. So we'll do that in a minute. Okay. Uh, there's a new directory we didn't used to have, I don't think, which has the the uh, the entity relationship diagrams. So you can easily create the entity relationship diagrams for a couple of these databases. We're not going to worry about that quite yet. EX solutions. I think you're going to want to know this. At the end of every chapter, there are exercises, and the solutions are published with the book. And the ones that have SQL scripts associated with them begin in chapter 3. So if you go to chapter 3 and you go to the back of it and uh, you look at exercise 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, they all have a script that you're supposed to hand in for the exercise. These are the answers to those. Okay, those are not the ones that we're going to be doing for homework, so they're a good thing to practice on. And they're also kind of parallel to the exercises that we're going to be doing as our coding assignment homework. So for instance, if you get stuck on the homework and you want something to give you a hint, you can go to the back of the chapter and find an exercise that's pretty close to the one that you're doing, and then look up the solution and see how that one works and use it as inspiration for yours. Okay, so we have the exercise solutions for the end of chapter exercises for the entire book, certainly all the ones that you're going to need. Okay, so then we have two directories that have to do with using MySQL with a programming language, one for Java, one for PHP. We're not going to be doing that, so we're not going to fool with those. And then we have another directory. It's not it's not a directory that was part of what I downloaded from the companion site, but something I downloaded from the instructor site, and I've done some further improvements. And this is going to allow us to build the database that our actual homework coding assignment exercises are built upon. So it's called MGS-EX Start. So that's MGS stands for My Guitar Shop. So that's the name of the database we're going to be working with. And if you open that, you can see that there's a script for create My Guitar Shop. That's the database we're going to be doing a lot of work with. Okay. And these databases that we're going to build here using the scripts that we just were able to download, these are going to take us up to the very end of the course. The only other database we're going to be working with is the one we do in our final project, and we'll learn about that when we're a lot closer to that. Okay, now where does this directory go? Well, we don't want to leave it in downloads. That's pretty volatile. And I forget where there's an appendix in the Murach book where he tells you where he would like you to put it. You should put this somewhere where you can find it easily. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is I think I already have a copy of it somewhere. So I'm going to take a pause and get rid of it in that place, and then we're going to put the new one there. So be right back. Okay, so the two really popular directories on the Mac are Documents, which is where I'm going to put mine, and then the directory that has your username. Okay, and I've got a lot of files in both. So I'm going to put mine into Documents. That's where I typically look for things. So put the directory where you would like to find it. So it's there in Documents. Okay. And then I'm going to open up another Finder panel. So get a new Finder window. And here it is. And I'm going to go to Downloads. And in Downloads, I want the directory called MySQL. And I'm just going to drag this over. You know, actually, we don't need two finders because we're just going to drag it onto the Documents higher level folder. So we can just really drag it over here and drop it on Documents. Okay, so now it's gone from there. And if we go to Documents, let's go over to Documents. We've got that window there. If we go down to M, we're going to find that we have the MySQL directory. Well, that's nice, but for me, that's too low down. When I'm trying to open a file that came in these directories, I just have to search too far down the list. So what I tend to like to do is to put underscores in front of the name. So I'm going to put 6 underscores in front of the name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what happens is that it sorts to the very top. So now it's the first one on the list. So when we go to open things and we go to documents, we're going to see this right up at the top. Makes it easy to search for. Okay? Do you have to do it exactly like this? No. This is just one convenient way to locate the directory. You want it in a convenient, easily found location. Okay, so we downloaded the files. We situated them within the file system in a convenient place to find. Now, what we want to do is we want to run MySQL Workbench, and we're going to use that to run the scripts that load the databases. Okay, where's MySQL Workbench? Well, on my machine, I've already created an icon for it in the dock. Okay, if you didn't do that in the last of the tutorials, well, you should do that now. Okay, and how would you do that? Well, you'd go to the Finder. So you'd open Finder, and you go to the Applications folder, right? And you would go to MySQL Workbench, and you would double click it to start it, and you would find it down here now. Actually, let me stop that. So I'm going to quit that as it is now, and I'm going to take it options. I'm just going to quit it. Okay, great. So I quit that, and then let's options remove from dock. So I removed it from the dock, and then so go to the applications folder, find MySQL Workbench, double click it to fire it up. You're going to see it start, which you have. Now go down to the dock and right click options, keep in dock. That way you're not going to be looking for that all the time. And just like we did in the last tutorial, we're going to run this local instance. Again, mine's called local instance 3306. It might be a little different from the name that yours has because I think it kept the name I had from the last time I installed it. 3306 is the number of the port that the server runs on, so that's why that's a nice name. So I'm just going to click on this gray box. It's going to fire up the connection. And we're going to see a couple things. One, it didn't ask me for my password. The password that we set when we did this one on the Mac was Open Sesame, all one word. Okay, why didn't it ask me for it? Well, the last time I gave it to it, I said to store it in the password vault. Okay. The second thing to see is that these tabs that were open the last time that we were in this connection are open again. So the state of a particular connection in the workbench is sticky. So if you didn't clean up the last time that you were here, you're going to find all these things that were open before. Okay, how could you close them? Well, you could go up to the tab level and right click and say close other tabs. Okay, now in the Windows version, there's a close all tabs option. Well, not here. You can close the one that's left, query 8, and then it starts up query 1. So for instance, the Windows version, you can get this completely empty and it goes all gray. Not true for the Mac version. And again, just to refresh your memory, the panels that are probably the most important for us are the panel on the left is used for administration and to see the schemas. So right now we're on the administration tab. Let's go to the schemas tab. And here is the sys schema. In MySQL, the words schema and database are interchangeable. Okay, is that true in all products? Not really. It just happens to be the language of MySQL. Okay. Okay, that's good. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to run a script. We're going to find it and run it. And I'm sorry, we're going to find it and open it. Where are we going to open it? In this editor panel. Okay. So let's do that. So go up to the toolbar, and not the first icon, but the second is the icon to open an SQL script. So click on that. Okay, and then let's go to Documents. Okay, and there we are, MySQL right up at the top. I'm going to double click that to open it. And you remember that I said that the databases from the text itself are in this DB setup directory. So double click that. And the create a databases MySQL 5.7 and later script is the one that we want. It's the first one. We're going to highlight it. And then we're going to click on open. Okay, and here's the script. This is a script for creating a database and loading it with data. We're going to learn how to do this when we get to chapter 10. Okay, for right now, we're just going to run the one they gave us. This script creates all three sample databases, AP, EX, and OM. All right, well, how do you run a script? Well, this is the script in the editor. There's a toolbar for the editor, okay? And the two icons that run scripts are the ones that are the lightning bolts. The one that I like is the one on the left, okay? As opposed to the one that has the kind of I-beam in it. Now, how does the one on the left work? Well, the one on the left works the following way. If you just have the cursor in one spot in your file and you click on the plain lightning bolt on the left, it will run the entire script. That's typically what we want to do. The alternative is if you just want to run a subset, and every once in a while we want to do that, you can just highlight the subset that you want and then click on the plain lightning bolt and it'll run that subset. Okay, so what we're going to be doing in the short run is we're going to click here just in the upper left. Okay, we haven't highlighted a group of text. If we had, it would have turned blue. And we're just going to click on the lightning bolt. Before we do that, keep your eye down here in this console panel, because when we run the script, we're going to get a bunch of messages for all the commands that are part of the script. Okay, so here goes. Keep your eye on it. Here goes. And there they are. And let's look at that. We can scroll through this and we see typically we have a green check mark. This says the command in the script ran okay. We do have a couple of these yellow triangles. These are warnings, okay? They're generally okay as well. What we don't want to find when we run a script are red balls with white X's in them, okay? Those are errors, okay? we rarely expect to get an error. So um, if we run the script and we see mostly green with a couple of yellows, well, then that's just what we wanted to happen. Okay, so if that worked, why in my list of schemas do I not see A, P, E, X, and O, M? And that's because we need to refresh the schema list. So we go over to the panel, up to schemas, over to the right to this refresh icon, and there we go. We, in addition to sys, which is a kind of MySQL infrastructure database, we have AP, EX, and OM. Now, what do AP, EX, and OM stand for? AP stands for accounts payable. That's the main database that we're going to use in the textbook. EX stands for examples. It's not all that big, and there is I think there's an example or two that we look at in there. OM stands for order management. That's not one that we use. I think it's used in some of the chapters that we don't cover. So most of our work will be with AP. So let's open that up, go to the little triangle to the left, expand it, and you can see the first thing are the tables, so expand them. Okay. Now, when we were doing this expanding of the view for the databases, when we were doing this over in the tutorial for the Windows version, I opened the tables for one of the databases. Let's see if it'll happen for any of these. No, those look good. I opened it, and it says it's fetching the tables. Now, we don't seem to have that problem on the Mac version, but you might get it. If in fact you go to open one of these databases or schemas, whichever you call them, and when you go to look at the tables that says it's fetching tables, the workaround is to stop Workbench and start it up again. Okay, and that usually will cure that problem. That's an old problem that's been hanging around for a long time, unfortunately. Okay, so we've got the three databases here. Let's just take a look at some of the tables. One feature that I think I haven't shown you is if you double click on the name of one of the databases, like AP, okay, it will go to bold. Now let's see how that's in bold. This is the way this Workbench product shows you that that's the default database. So if you run a query and the query doesn't say exactly the database that you want to use, then it'll use the default one. Okay. Now that's not a feature our queries are going to rely on, but that is a feature that the queries that come with the textbook rely on. Okay. So that's the thing you have to remember if you go to run the examples from the book or the solutions for the end of chapter exercises. If you're working on AP, you'll want to double click on AP. If you're working on EX, you want to double click on EX. So let's go to AP. Let's turn that into the working database. Okay. Notice as we're working here, we just keep collecting editor tabs. Okay. It's usually okay until they start crowding out. When they get all the way over to the right, there's a way to kind of navigate past the right side. I find it very hard to do. So what I usually do is whenever I'm done with things, I usually clean up. So I usually right click up here in the tab and say close other tabs and go down to one. Now, do I have to? No, I just find that convenient. Okay, and let's look at a table here. Let's look at the invoices table. This is the main table in the database. And if we hover over it, okay, we get three icons out to the right, okay. The third one has a kind of a data table kind of look. And if we click on it, it'll show us all the data in the table. Okay, so we click on that. And let's do a couple of things. Let's stop this altogether. So I'm actually going to close that window and do it again. Now, I want to show you something you can do. Remember this panel down here from the console? It gets crowded, okay? You can clear it. So right click in that window and pick clear. Isn't that nice? So what I usually do before I run a script that I really want to pay attention to the results, I usually clear it so I can concentrate on the results. Now, I want to show you the results here. So we're going to go to the invoices table again. We hover over it, three icons out to the right, take the one all the way on the right, the one for the data table, click that, okay. The interesting thing here, and I may mention when we installed the software, is this product in a couple of situations, it shows you what goes on under the covers. So if you click on this icon, this says, show me all the data. Does it simply show you all the data? No, what it actually does is it writes a query to show you all the data in the invoices database, and it runs it, and it gets a result set, okay? So you can look up here and go, oh, this is a query that shows you all the data in the invoices table. No, we're not going to learn how to do that until chapter 3, but that's how that worked. The result grid has all of the columns, because we asked, this little asterisk here says show us all of the columns, and the default is all of the rows, so we get all the rows. Now, how many rows are there? Well, there are 114. And how do I know? Well, with two reasons. One is I've been using the database now for 4 years, okay? And so it hasn't changed. And I know it has 114 rows, okay? But the other thing you can do, so you can see in the response, it retrieved 114. That's the other way, you know. And then in this result grid, if all of the columns won't fit, it gives you a slider along the bottom. Or if all the rows won't fit, it gives you a slider around the right side. So we're going to pull this down here on the right side. And we go down and we look, and the invoice ID of the last one is 114. And that's because there are 114 of them. Now you might look along the bottom and say, Kevin, what's this whole row of nulls along the bottom? Well, it turns out that's not data in the table. That's an actual feature of this result grid. One is able to actually add rows using the result grid or change them. So if in fact we were to click, sometimes you have to click, say, twice. Click here, we could actually add another row, okay? We'd add the data, and then this apply button and the revert button would light up. And so we'd have the data in here, and if we really wanted to add it, we'd click apply. If we want to give up on it, we would click revert, okay? Now that's not something we really used in the class, but it's a question that comes up all the time. All right. Okay, so that's that. Let's look at another table that's wider. Oh, you know what? We'll do that in the other database that we're going to load. So we're not going to do that quite yet. Okay, so we got this. Now I told you that the database that we're going to be using for our coding assignment exercises is called My Guitar Shop. We don't see that here because we need to open another script and run that. So Let's do that. We go up to this toolbar. The second icon is what you use to open a script. Okay. The dialogues in the file picker are kind of sticky, so we're looking at the list of scripts that we just ran. So let's go up here and right click on this chooser, and let's say that we want to go to the MySQL directory, and the directory that has the My Guitar Shop loading script in it is mgsex start. So double click on that, and then we're just going to click on create My Guitar Shop. There are not two versions of this. There's not a new version and an old version. I took the old version and fixed it. So this is really the new version. Okay. And so we're going to highlight that one, create myguitarshop.sql, open, click the open button. Again, we get another script. These seem very exotic right now. By the time we get to chapter 10, we'll be writing these. We won't write a whole lot of them, but we'll see that we can write them. Okay. All right, and before we run this, let's go down and clear the console window. So right click, clear. All right. And up here, we want to make sure in the script that we haven't highlighted a more than one character, right? Something like that. If we have that and we click on the plain lightning bolt, it's only going to try to execute that one statement. Instead, we want to click, I typically click up here in the top left, and you just see the normal cursor there. And now you can go up and click on the left, the plain lightning bolt. Let's do that. And you see all the response down here in the bottom, which is all green checks except for one yellow triangle. That's perfect. And now we're going to go over to this in the navigation panel. We're in the Schemas tab, and now we're going to have to refresh that to see the new database. So let's go up to the right of Schemas, refresh, and there it is, My Guitar Shop. So let's open that. You might have seen there for a very short time when we opened it, it said fetching. And let's open that. That seems to be working fine. And let's look at the customers table. Okay, so if we hover over customers, take the third icon on the right, and here we see these are the customers. So customers appears to have 8 rows there. Let's pick orders. Let's do the same thing. Hover over orders, out to the right, click on the little table icon. Okay, now here's the interesting thing. If you look at the result grid that we got for orders, the columns don't all exactly fit. So we get a slider along the bottom, and the rows don't perfectly fit. So we get a slider along the right-hand side. Okay, so pretty typical stuff that you're used to with table-oriented programs. And you always get this null line along the bottom, which is your opportunity to type in data, which again, that's not a facility of the tool that we use during the class. So there's plenty more to be learned about this tool. We cover Workbench pretty extensively in chapter 2, and then we build the skills over the rest of the course. But this is enough to get you started, so I'm going to leave you here, and I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye-bye.